What happens when an unstoppable force of raw, uncompromising talent meets an immovable object of daytime television cynicism? You get an explosion so seismic it shatters the very foundation of a live broadcast. This isn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This is a takedown attempt that backfired spectacularly. A live-wire confrontation where one of Hollywood's most intensely private actors looked a notorious host dead in the eye and refused to play her game. Before we dissect this incredible moment frame by frame, make sure you've hit that subscribe button. Because what you're about to witness is a masterclass in how to handle a public ambush. Drop a comment below telling me which celebrity you think could have stared down Joy Behar better than Tom Hardy did. Because after you see how this plays out, you'll realize that some stars don't just have a breaking point, they have a detonation sequence. The stage was set for a routine promotional circus. Tom Hardy, the man who embodies characters with a simmering, barely contained intensity, was on The View to discuss his latest blockbuster. The script was written before he even sat down. Charming anecdotes, a glimpse into his intense physical transformation, a few self-deprecating jokes and a graceful exit. But from the moment he settled into his chair, the air crackled with a different energy. Joy Behar, armed with a folder and a predator's smile, was not there to follow a script. The interview began with polite, surface-level questions from Whoopi Goldberg. Hardy was engaged, professional, discussing the stunts and the story with a focused passion. But the calm was a prelude to the storm. Joy Behar leaned into her microphone, her voice laced with a fox curiosity that everyone in the business recognizes as a prelude to an attack. "So Tom," she began, her eyes glinting behind her glasses, "let's talk about your methods. The extreme physical changes, the notorious staying in character between takes. Some critics are calling it less about dedication and more about, well, showing off. That it's a performance both on and off screen. What do you say to those who think it's all a carefully crafted publicity stunt?" The trap was sprung. The question wasn't an inquiry. It was an accusation wrapped in a thin veil of journalistic pretense. It was designed to provoke, to belittle, to reduce a lifetime of artistic commitment to a mere attention-seeking gambit. Hardy's jaw tightened. The shift was subtle but profound. The affable movie star receded, and the formidable, intelligent man beneath surfaced. His voice, when he answered, was calm but carried the low rumble of distant thunder. "I'm sorry," he said, the politeness a sharp weapon. "What exactly are you referring to?" "Because I was under the impression I was here to discuss my film, not defend my commitment to my craft against unnamed critics." Behar, sensing blood in the water, pressed harder. "Oh, come on, Tom. The reputation precedes you. It paints a picture of someone who can't separate himself from the role, who maybe uses these characters to work through some deeper issues instead of dealing with them like a normal person." The studio audience gasped. This was no longer about acting, it was a blatant, armchair psychoanalysis jab. Hardy's publicist off-camera looked ready to vault the studio wall. But Hardy didn't need saving. He leaned forward, his gaze locking onto Behar's with an intensity that could melt steel. "Are you seriously attempting to diagnose me, Joy, on national television? Are you suggesting that my dedication is a psychological defect? Because if that's the case, then this isn't an interview, it's a malpractice of journalism." The gauntlet was thrown down. Behar, instead of retreating, seemed electrified. This was the reaction she wanted. "I'm just calling it like I see it," she retorted. "The on-set incidents, the conflicts, the way you've walked out of interviews before. It suggests someone who can't handle criticism, who hides behind a tough guy persona." "Incidents?" Hardy's voice rose, the control beginning to fray at the edges. "What incidents? Name one." "See a director I've worked with who has said that. I've collaborated with the most respected names in this industry. I'd love for you to provide your source." The tension was now a physical presence in the room. Whoopi Goldberg tried to interject, but Behar waved her off, her focus entirely on her quarry. "I don't need a director to tell me," she shot back, her tone condescending. "I can see it right here. The defensiveness, the aggression, this is exactly what I'm talking about." This was the trigger. Tom Hardy stood up. The sound of his chair scraping back was like a gunshot in the silent studio. The audience gasped again, a collective intake of breath. Security guards subtly shifted their weight. "You want to see aggressive, Joy?" Hardy's voice was a controlled blast. "Aggressive is ambushing a guest with personal attacks disguised as questions. Aggressive is using your platform to tear down a life's work based on gossip. Aggressive is thinking you have the right to psychoanalyze a man you've known for 10 minutes. Behar's eyes lit up with triumphant fire. She had him right where she wanted him. Emotional, reactive, and on his feet. She declared, a victorious smile spreading across her face. The real Tom Hardy, not the charming movie star, but the angry man who can't handle being questioned by a woman. It was her masterstroke, the ultimate deflection. She was no longer the aggressor, she was recasting herself as the victim of sexism. But Hardy was ready for it. A woman. His voice was dripping with incredulous scorn. "This has nothing to do with your gender, Joy. This has everything to do with your profound lack of professionalism. You've turned a conversation about art into a personal attack, and now you're hiding behind the weakest, most transparent shield in modern discourse when you're called out on it." The battle lines were now drawn in fire. What followed was a brutal, no-holds-barred exchange that eviscerated the line between interview and confrontation. Behar, doubling down, went for the jugular. "You want to talk about professionalism, Tom? Let's talk about your story. Let's talk about the real reason you're so defensive. Let's talk about your past addiction issues and how convenient it must be to hide behind character research when you're really just reliving old patterns." The studio went dead silent. She had crossed the Rubicon. She had weaponized his publicly acknowledged, hard-won sobriety, a journey of immense personal strength, and used it as a cudgel to beat him with on national television. The color drained from Hardy's face, then returned in a flush of pure, undiluted rage. His hands clenched at his sides, trembled not with fear, but with the effort of containing his fury. "You did not just go there," he whispered, the words carrying more menace than a scream. "You did not just use my recovery as ammunition in your pathetic little power play." Behar, sensing a fatal wound, moved in for the kill. "I'm asking the questions everyone else is too polite to ask. If you're going to sit there and judge my show, maybe we should examine what qualifies you. Let's talk about the years you spent making choices that nearly destroyed your career." "My life choices." Hardy's voice boomed, finally unleashed. "You mean the choices that led me to get clean? To build a career? To become a father? To actually contribute something, unlike sitting behind a desk throwing stones at people who have the courage to actually create?" "Crete." Behar mocked him, her voice a sneer. "You pretend to be other people for a living, Tom. You play dress up. Don't you dare lecture me about meaningful contributions." The exchange became a vortex of escalating accusations. "I tell stories that matter," Hardy fired back. "Stories about human struggle. What do? You tear people down for ratings. You're the one throwing a tantrum because I won't kiss your ring," Behar retorted. "Kiss your ring." Hardy's laugh was a harsh, ugly sound. "This is about you not being able to handle a guest who won't bow to your condescension." The confrontation reached its inevitable, explosive climax when Behar, her own composure shattered, shrieked at security. "Get him out of here! I want him off my set!" Hardy turned her own words against her with devastating precision. "Your set?" he said, his voice dropping to a devastating calm. "This isn't your set, Joy. This is a network. This is a platform that's supposed to serve the public, not your personal vendettas." As security cautiously approached, Hardy held up his hands. "Don't worry," he said, his gaze never leaving Behar. "I'm leaving. Unlike some, I have self-control." He then turned to the camera, his face a mask of grim dignity. "To the audience at home," he said, his voice clear and resonant. "I apologize that this is what your morning television has become. I came here to talk about art, about stories, about overcoming. Instead, I was subjected to this. I hope you think critically about what you've witnessed here today." With that, Tom Hardy turned and walked out, leaving a crater of silence in his wake. Joy Behar was left standing, flushed and seething, the architect of a confrontation that had utterly demolished her. She had sought to expose a volatile man, but instead she had exposed herself, a bully whose tactics crumbled when faced with unyielding integrity and raw, intelligent fury. In the end, Tom Hardy didn't just walk off a show, he walked out of a rigged game, and in doing so, he won the respect of everyone who values substance over sensationalism. He proved that the toughest guys aren't the ones who start fights, they're the ones who have the strength to end them on their own terms. So, who was right? The host who claimed she was just asking tough questions, or the actor who refused to be her punching bag? The answer seems clear. This wasn't an interview, it was an ambush. And Tom Hardy was the one who walked away from the wreckage, his head held high,